Chapter 1278. Every day, Leah would remind Gregory of the countdown of losing Gu Mengmeng. When Gregory's uneasiness and reluctance to part with her reached a peak, Leah would show him another possibility called Dian. A person who lived in the harsh cold would not be afraid of the cold, unless he had experienced warmth. A person who had nothing would not worry about gains and losses, unless he had obtained something. A person who had no desires would not have any weaknesses, unless he was greedy. So, Leah kept Gregory by Gu Mingming's side and did not mention a word about the Moda Mountains, gradually weakening his defenses. Then, as someone who had also escaped from the abyss of loneliness, he knew better than anyone how attractive Gu Mingming's sun-like warmth was to someone who had never experienced beauty. After experiencing warmth, he would naturally be afraid of the cold. And this greed was the chain that was strangling his throat. On the 5th day of Gregory's departure, Sauter was in an uproar. Before the sky brightened, a black figure rushed into the stone castle. It was so fast that even Elvis could not stand up in time and could only protect Gu Mengmeng in his arms. His sharp claws grabbed the intruder's throat in an instant, but that person did not seem to feel it at all. He just stared at Gu Mingming's shoulders with bloodshot eyes and shook her with all his might. Gu Mengmeng. Open your eyes right now. Open them. When Elvis saw who it was, he sighed in exasperation and retracted his claws. Gu Mengmeng was sleeping soundly when she was shaken so badly that the world spun around her. She looked at Wabiai in a daze and was completely unaware of the situation. She replied in a daze, "Little shit, what's wrong with you? I was the one who wanted to ask you. What's wrong with you? I'm warning you, I won't allow you to die." Gu Mingming's shoulders were hurting from the grip. She took a deep breath and could not calm herself down as she looked at Wabiai's crazed look. She smacked his head and sent him flying. Then, she rubbed her shoulders and stood up to walk over to Wabiai. "Calm down, who told you that I was going to die?" Wabiai was a little dazed from the smack. He stared at Gu Mengmeng with widened eyes. Seeing that she was indeed unharmed, he finally heaved a sigh of relief. "It's good that you're fine, it's good that you're fine, damn it, you scared me to death." Gu Mengmeng looked at Wabiai curling up in a corner trying to calm himself down. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. She kicked him. "I hate it the most when people disturb my sleep. I'll let you off this time on your account. Think how to explain to me tomorrow. If you don't explain well, I'll cook snake stew with you. Sleep, the sky is not even." Gu Mengmeng snuggled back into Elvis's arms and fell asleep after a while. It was so Gu Mengmeng sure. Calm Gregory, who was recuperating in the stone castle, naturally saw the commotion. "Ha! She's so cute even when she's angry. How good would it be if she inherited the heart of the desert?" Gregory did not sleep the entire night. He just sat there in a daze as he stared at Gu Mingming's closed door. He sat there for the entire night. Chapter 1279. Gu Mengmeng did not feel good seeing Wabiai in this state. So she called Elvis and Leah over to discuss whether she should look for the beast deity to ask about the love in the sky since Gregory would be leaving in 5 days. Leah nodded in agreement while Elvis tugged at Gu Mingming's hand with a chuckle. "What should I do? I feel a little nervous." Gu Mengmeng looked at Elvis suspiciously. After some thought, she finally understood that he was now a beast king and could go with her to meet the beast deity in her dreams. She chuckled. "Yeah, you should be nervous meeting your father-in-law for the first time. But my father is very easy to get along with, so it's fine." Elvis kissed the top of Gu Mingming's head and nodded in agreement. Leah wagged his tail sourly. "Gu Mengmeng, let's hurry and find the spirit of the rocky cliffs after finding the love of the sky. I want to level up too. I also want to become a beast king and accompany you to meet your father-in-law." "All right." Gu Mengmeng agreed readily. She did not know that Li's true motive behind his coquettish act was to obtain the tear of the beast deity after becoming a beast king, so that he could extend Gu Mingming's life in the future. Leah smiled and nodded. His expression was extremely satisfied. Then, he straightened his posture. Then let's sort out the questions you want to ask. Gu Mengmeng nodded. First, we need to know who that great lord is. I have a feeling that I know him and get along well with him. It's really annoying to lose a piece of my memory. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little face. He gave a doting and indulgent smile. We must ask this question. After all, that great lord seems to have some connections with the vulture tribe. It will be beneficial for us if we can understand enough information. Also, Leah hesitated for a moment before telling Gu Mengmeng about how he had schemed against Gregory. Gu Mingming's eyes widened in disbelief. So, you mean that Gregory likes me now? Leah nodded with an expression that said, it's a pity, but it's exactly what you think. Gu Mengmeng slapped herself on the face. She wanted to cry but had no tears. Brother, how can you do this? It's too despicable to make use of other people's feelings. I feel like I'm a scumbag. Leah pulled down Gu Mingming's little hand and held it in his palm. He said cautiously, I didn't tell you beforehand because I didn't want you to become an accomplice. You didn't do anything to him, did you? So, the person who schemed against him and used him was me. It had nothing to do with you. Besides, I'm using people's hearts, not their emotions. Gu Mengmeng pouted, her face full of grievance. Leah said, I allowed him to get close to you, but I did not force him to like you. He was the one who couldn't control his own heart and couldn't extricate himself. To a certain extent, this situation was his own choice, and I merely foresaw this outcome. He willingly fell into depravity, using his feelings as the price to allow himself to be captured in exchange for greed. And it just so happens that I need this greed, that's all. Gu Mengmeng frowned. Speak human language. Chapter 1280. But you can't make use of other people's feelings. Gu Mengmeng felt extremely helpless. She could have asked Gregory to bring her to Moda Mountains in a righteous and confident manner, but now that he had fallen for her, she could not bring herself to do so. Because in terms of feelings, she could not possibly give him anything in return, so what right did she have to ask him for anything? Leah sighed helplessly and rubbed Gu Mingming's little head, saying, It's just that there's one more person who likes you, why do you have to be so troubled? Gu Mengmeng gave Leah an aggrieved look, letting him experience it himself. Leah surrendered helplessly, saying, How about this, if you feel that it's too much of a burden for you, after this matter is over, just cast a bewitching spell on him and make him forget about his feelings for you. Everything that happened during this period of time is like a dream to him. In the future, when he returns to Moda Mountains, he will wake up from this dream and resume his previous life without any losses. But, if you still feel that you're losing money, then treat him better during this period of time. Leah shrugged, before adding, intimate contact and mating are not allowed. Gu Mengmeng sighed, saying, Things have already come to this, there's no other way. But Leah, to be honest, I'm very afraid of emotional debt. Don't make use of other people's feelings for me in the future. If something like Snake happens again, I will break down. All right. Leah hugged Gu Mengmeng and agreed seriously. Actually, he did not wish for so many people to covet Gu Mengmeng, but what other choice did he have? Gu Mengmeng was the brightest star in the world. When she opened her eyes, even the warm sun in March paled in comparison. In this world, who else could make people fall in love at first sight and be infatuated with her for the rest of their lives? But, in his scheme, the most he could do was to allow others to like Gu Mengmeng, but he would never allow others to obtain Gu Mengmeng. Moreover, Leah would not feel any sense of guilt because of this. In the beast world, being weak was a sin in itself. If the other party could crush him in terms of intelligence or beat Elvis in terms of strength, then the other party would definitely not pity them when they snatched Gu Mengmeng away. Survival of the fittest, survival of the fittest, this was the law of nature. It was cruel but useful. However, since Meng Meng did not like it, there was no harm in not using this kind of trick next time. After all roads lead to Rome. Even if it was a little more complicated, there would always be other ways. After getting Li's promise, Gu Mengmeng nodded before continuing, other than that, great lord, I also want to ask what secrets are hidden in Moda Mountains. It feels weird. I keep feeling that there's something wrong with that mountain and it has something to do with me. Leah nodded. I am also very interested in the other treasures hidden in the Moda Mountains. Gu Mengmeng smiled and did not say a word. She was not interested in the treasures, but the Moda Mountains themselves. This feeling was very strange and indescribable. It was like, all the blood in his body was boiling, and he had an inexplicable desire to get closer. Chapter 1281. My instincts tell me that something must have happened when we were in the Mecca desert. We forgot some crucial things. It was this forgotten information that caused me to change. Gu Mengmeng concluded. Leah nodded and said, yeah, I think so too. After thinking for a while, Leah added, Gregory said that the temperature on the mountain top is extremely bad and you don't have any fur to protect you. I'm very worried about this. Ask the beast deity if there's any solution. Yeah, got it. Gu Mengmeng answered obediently. Leah kissed Gu Mengmeng's forehead and said, all right, you can sleep with Elvis. I'll stay here to guard the two of you. Elvis and Leah exchanged glances and the message was take good care of her. It was just that one was talking about her body while the other was talking about her soul. Elvis placed Gu Mengmeng on his chest, with one hand passing under her neck and wrapping around her back, while the other hand was placed on her waist. His large tail lightly covered her stomach, while his two slender legs intertwined with hers. Elvis placed Gu Mengmeng on his chest and placed one hand on the other. No one knew what would happen after they fell asleep. Elvis was not even sure if he could really go to the beast deity with Gu Mengmeng this time. So he wanted to hug Gu Mengmeng to the fullest extent so that he could feel more at ease. Gu Mengmeng pressed her little face against Elvis's chest and listened to his heartbeat. She comforted him softly, don't worry, just relax. Yeah. Elvis kissed Gu Mengmeng's little head again before slowly closing his eyes. Both of their breaths were light and even. Slowly, even the frequency of their breathing and heartbeats reached the same rhythm. Their consciousness gradually faded away. In the white fog, Gu Mengmeng held Elvis's hand and smiled faintly. Elvis also stared at Gu Mengmeng. He did not say anything but felt at ease. Even if there was only thick white fog around them, Elvis felt especially at ease because he could see Gu Mengmeng. The beast deity stood in the clouds as usual and was not surprised to see Elvis. He just waved at Gu Mengmeng in a benevolent and amiable manner. But Gu Mengmeng felt weird because the amiability of the beast deity today was a little exaggerated. My precious daughter, you're finally back. Without another word, the beast deity pulled Gu Mengmeng over from Elvis's hands. With a wave of his sleeves, Elvis was flung far away. In the illusion realm, Elvis could not feel any pain but he was still baffled by the beating and did not dare to retaliate, so he could only crawl back pathetically. However, he did not know why he could not close the distance no matter how much he ran, even though it looked like it was only 100 to 200 meters away. The beast deity completely ignored Elvis and pulled Gu Mengmeng to sit on the two-seater bench. He looked at Gu Mengmeng with a sorrowful expression. My precious daughter has really suffered a lot. Look at how tanned your skin is and how rough your hands have become. Ayaya, why are you frowning? Did your partner not take good care of you? Don't be afraid. Tell me what you've been through. I'll help you. Gu Mengmeng looked at the beast deity with a face full of black lines. She totally did not understand what he was trying to do. She glanced at Elvis, who was still running towards them with all his might but could not get any closer. She then turned her gaze back and said, "Father, did you take the wrong medicine?" Chapter 1282. Gu Mingming's hair stood on end from the beast deity's stare. His gaze was clearly saying, "If you dare to plead, I will break your legs." She shook her head stiffly and said, "It's only right for a father-in-law to teach his son-in-law a lesson. It's only right." The beast deity then nodded in satisfaction and said, "Of course, if I don't put him in his place the first time we meet, does he think that my precious daughter is someone he can marry so easily? Doesn't he know whose precious daughter she is?" The beast deity glanced at Elvis and said, "Aren't you going to run faster?" At such a distance, Elvis could clearly see what the beast deity said to Gu Mengmeng and what expressions he used. Receiving Gu Mingming's helpless and heartache expression, Elvis smiled and shook his head, indicating to her that he was all right and that he could handle it. After all, if Elvis had a daughter, he would definitely not be as merciful as the beast deity when he made things difficult for his daughter's first partner. The beast deity also ignored Elvis and Gu Mingming's flirtatious glances. He just held Gu Mingming's little hand and said, "Raising a daughter is like raising a pot of flowers. You water and fertilize her, but one day, a bastard called son-in-law takes away even the flower pot." Gu Mengmeng grinned awkwardly and said, "Father, have you been addicted to TikTok recently?" The beast deity had originally wanted to cry but was exposed by Gu Mengmeng. He awkwardly cleared his throat and forcefully held back the tears that had welled up in his eyes. He glared at Gu Mengmeng and said, "That's how it is. If you want to marry someone else's daughter, you have to at least do two things." Gu Mengmeng felt that the beast deity was possessed by a drama queen today. She and Elvis had been partners for almost 2 to 3 years and he was only putting this son-in-law in his place now. Wasn't his reaction time a little too long? But thinking that the beast deity was doing everything for her, Gu Mengmeng felt very warm. Although Elvis would not bully her at all, there was someone who could be your backing, your path of retreat, holding your hand and handing it over to another man, telling him, "If one day you don't love her anymore, don't lie to her, don't bully her, just give me a call, I'll come and fetch her home." That feeling was really good. It was so good that Gu Mengmeng thought she would never be able to dream of it in her entire life. Suddenly, the untouchable cord of kinship in her heart was violently plucked at this moment. Gu Mengmeng smiled and played along with the beast deity's harmless act, asking, "What are those two things?" The beast deity glanced at Elvis from the corner of his eyes. "First, surpass your father. Second, please your mother. I am a father and a mother at the same time, so he wants to surpass me and please me at the same time. If he can't do those two things, and want me to acknowledge him as my son-in-law. King me." Gu Mingming smiled and nodded. "Beast's Ling line." Elvis returned her a determined gaze before transforming into a wolf and sprinting towards Gu Mengmeng with all his might. Gu Mengmeng felt that Elvis was really quite pitiful, so she wrapped her arms around the beast deity's shoulders and said, "But father, what if my mother-in-law also makes things difficult for me in the future?" The beast deity laughed coldly. "If they think they can afford to offend me, they could try bullying you." Gu Mingming's heart warmed. She hugged the beast deity and rubbed her furry little head against his shoulder. "Father is mighty and dominating. Unify the martial world." The beast deity held Gu Mingming's hand. "Daughter, look. This is the martial world father has conquered for you. It will all be yours in the future." Ha 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 ha. Chapter 1283. Father, the moment Gu Mengmeng opened her mouth, the beast deity gestured for her to stop. Old rules, you can only ask questions after watching the television series. Gu Mengmeng nodded. "Yeah, let's begin." But the beast deity shook his head. He glanced at Elvis. "I haven't accepted him yet. Why should I let him watch television with us?" Gu Meng Meng held her forehead. Papa, my hubby has been running there for half a day, the beast deity snorted. So what? How much did you suffer to give birth to his wolf cubs? What about him? What did he do? Why should he enjoy the pleasurable process while you bear the painful consequences? Gu Meng Meng blushed. She shook the beast deity's shoulders. Father, maintain your persona. You are a deity. Is it really okay to be so dirty? The beast deity was so shaken that he was seeing stars, but he did not back down. With a snap of his fingers, Elvis was instantly pulled to their side. This level of running was nothing to Elvis. Although he was sweating a little, his expression was still stable. He didn't look like he was out of breath. This made the beast deity very unhappy. He felt like he hadn't vented his anger. So she hugged Gu Mingming's shoulder with one hand and slapped away Elvis's wolf claws that wanted to grab Gu Mingming's little hand with the other. She said, "Do you know how painful it was when my daughter gave birth to your child?" Elvis nodded. His expression was solemn. Elvis had personally delivered Heda and the other little ones. Gu Mingming's tragic cries were still Elvis's nightmares. In Elvis's memory, Gu Meng Meng had made him feel so much pain that he wanted to die twice. The last time she was extremely quiet was when Snake carried her back to the Snake King Valley. At that time, she was like a broken doll without a soul. Her blood dripped all over the ground, but she could not even make a sound, as if she was dead. The other time was when she was giving birth. Her cries pierced through the clouds and shattered his heart. It was as if thousands of ants were gnawing on his bones. It was so painful that he became numb. Those 2 times were nightmares that Elvis could never forget. Seeing Elvis nod, the beast deity laughed coldly. No. What do you know? You've never given birth, how would you know? Elvis was speechless and could only lower his head to admit his mistake, with a "I am guilty" look. The beast deity chuckled, looking as if he was up to no good. Gu Meng Meng nudged the beast deity lightly. Father, you are a positive character. Don't smile so slyly. I will suspect that you are the villain behind the scenes. The beast deity raised his head and said, My precious daughter is my life. I will fight to the death with anyone who makes you suffer. For you, I don't care whether it's the righteous or the antagonist or the sweet potato sect. This drama queen father was really unparalleled when he was stubborn. Gu Meng Meng felt that, maybe she should not bring Elvis back in the future. Alright, then father, tell me, what do you have to do for Elvis to be acknowledged? Gu Meng Meng smiled adorably, as if she was a good student begging her teacher for the final question. The beast deity glanced at Elvis and said, Why is it that you are the one enjoying childbirth and my daughter is the one suffering? You should at least suffer the same pain and suffer the same pain to appease my anger. Chapter 1284. Ha, it's the best that you can think that way. I wanted to magnify my daughter's pain by 10 times for you to endure, but on account of your proper attitude, let's just magnify it by 8 times. Don't. Gu Meng Meng hugged the beast deity, her face filled with horror. Father, the bone cracks will open during childbirth. That kind of pain is really terrifying. If you magnify it by 8 times, he will die. The beast deity was displeased. He twitched his lips. 7.5 times. Gu Meng Meng shook her head with a pleading expression. Father, just the original degree will do. Please, you don't want me to be a widow, right? The beast deity smiled gently as he rubbed Gu Mingming's little head. It's all right. You still have Leah even if he dies from the pain. In the future, when Leah comes, he will have to suffer again. If Leah also dies from the pain, I will find a better one for you. Father, you are my biological father. Gu Meng Meng wanted to cry. The beast deity acted as if he didn't understand what Gu Meng Meng was implying. He nodded seriously. Yeah, of course I am your biological father. Why would a stepfather treat you so well? Am I right? Gu Mengmeng held on to the beast deity's shoulders. Father, you must have the right values. People say that it is better to demolish 10 temples than to ruin a marriage. Killing your son-in-law to find a new lover for your daughter is a degenerate act of morality and a twisted human nature. The beast deity held his heart with a heartbroken expression. His finger trembled as he pointed at Gu Mengmeng, as if Gu Mengmeng was extremely unfilial and had chased her elderly parents out of the house. All right. I have protected you with all my heart. You actually contradicted me for a little wolf cub. Aw, my heart hurts so much. Gu Mengmeng had a excuse me look on her face. Father, the Oscars owe you an identity number and a 10,086 golden statuette. Elvis's brain capacity couldn't handle the complicated situation before him. The beast deity had such a high status in the beast world that even looking up to him was a luxury. But he didn't expect the beast deity to be, so lively. And he didn't understand most of the conversation between Gu Mengmeng and the beast deity. But looking at the current situation, it seemed like Gu Mengmeng had a conflict with the beast deity because she could not bear for him to suffer. Elvis did not want Gu Mengmeng to be put in a difficult position between him and the beast deity, so he tugged at her and said, Xiao Meng, I am a male. A male's endurance is much stronger than a female's. Furthermore, I am a beast king. Don't worry. I'm not afraid of pain. Elvis, believe me, the pain of giving birth is different from the pain you feel when you're fighting. Gu Mengmeng advised Elvis not to be stubborn, he should show his weakness at this moment. But Elvis smiled and rubbed Gu Mengmeng's little head, saying, if you are in pain, you should be in pain 100%. This is the punishment I deserve. Now, Lord Beast God is only punishing me 7.5 times, this is already very merciful. Moreover, I can only break free from this nightmare after I've endured the punishment. Only then can I truly face your next labor. Be good and don't interfere. Let me feel pain for you once, okay? The beast deity hugged Gu Mengmeng's shoulders and chuckled at Elvis, saying, since you've already said so, what are we waiting for? With that, the beast deity twisted his finger and a transparent square-shaped isolation barrier appeared beside Elvis. But with his strength, he could not break free. Chapter 1285. Elvis nodded. Giving Gu Mengmeng insurance was the right thing to do. Even though he felt that he would never hurt Gu Mengmeng no matter what, having another layer of insurance would make him feel more at ease. Gu Mengmeng sighed. She felt that this was a situation where one was willing to take the hit and the other was willing to take the hit. There was no room for her to intervene. The beast deity was still smiling benevolently. With a snap of his fingers, Elvis's body trembled. Sweat poured down like rain and his pupils dilated. His hands trembled as he supported himself against the transparent barrier. Tears flowed down the corners of his eyes. Gu Mengmeng's heart tightened. She looked at his palm through the barrier and asked, is it very painful? In her memory, Elvis had 2 of the most intense battles. The first time was when he was clearing Snake's trap in the Snake King Valley. There was not a single part of his body that was unharmed and he was paralyzed in front of Snake's door, listening to Snake's last words, so weak. The second time was before they went to the Mecca Desert. He fought with Wabi to increase his strength. That time, Wabi really went all out and fought with him until both of them were on the brink of death. But Elvis did not cry during those 2 times. How painful was it now? He was actually crying. Elvis nodded, his lips trembling as he whispered, it hurts a lot. Sharp claws fiercely dug into his own heart. His brows were furrowed tightly and his masseter muscles bulged. His eyes were so bloodshot that the whites of his eyeballs could not be seen and there were only blood vessels covering his eyes. Even though he looked so ferocious, Gu Mengmeng could see a deep love in his eyes. So, when you gave birth to the little wolves, it was this painful. Even if this pain was magnified 1,000 times on Elvis, he would at most grit his teeth. But the moment he thought of how this pain had tortured Gu Meng Meng, Elvis felt as if his heart had been gouged out by a bone-scraping knife and then soaked in an electrified liquid, repeatedly rubbing and crushing it. That kind of pain, he could not describe. He always knew that Gu Meng Meng was in pain when giving birth, but he did not know what that pain felt like. Even though his heart ached for the pain Gu Meng Meng had gone through when giving birth, so he decided not to let Gu Meng Meng have any more children in the future. But only now did he know that only after truly experiencing her pain would he know what it felt like to have his heart torn into a bloody mess. How could he have dared to say that he had cared for him before? What kind of heartache was this, to the extent of having his heart pierced by a needle? He really is a beast. How much of a bastard and selfish had he been? In order to have more bargaining chips to keep her, he made her pregnant, made her give birth, and made her suffer so much. The beast deity hugged Gu Mingming's shoulders and looked at Elvis in disdain. You can't take it anymore. Let me tell you, this is just the beginning of the pain. How long did my precious daughter suffer when she gave birth to your son? You haven't forgotten, have you? How could he forget? That day, from labor pains to delivery, Gu Meng Meng spent the entire night tossing and turning. The beast deity continued. The degree of labor pains will gradually increase. You, just bear with it. Elvis's eyes were red as he nodded seriously. He looked at Gu Meng Meng with such heartache that it could drip blood. It was as if he was not the one in pain, but Gu Meng Meng, who was standing outside the barrier and not knowing what to do. If he can't even take these few steps towards you, how can he accompany you on your journey in the future? Gu Mingming's heart ached for Elvis's suffering, but there was nothing she could do. Elvis smiled at Gu Meng Meng and said, Xiao Meng, don't worry. No matter how far away you are, I will find you. Even if you are separated by mountains and seas, nothing can stop me from getting closer to you. You don't have to come over. Just stand there and wait for me. Don't run away, don't hide, don't abandon me, that's all. Gu Meng Meng stood there and reached out a hand. I am waiting for you to hold my hand and bring me home. Chapter 1287. Only then did the beast deity chuckle. He stopped acting like a drama queen and said with the indifferent elegance that a deity should have, in my eyes, you are not worthy of my daughter. But, because Gu Meng likes you, I reluctantly accept you. If you let me know that my precious daughter has suffered any grievances because of you, I will let you experience the true fury of the beast deity. Yes. Elvis lowered his head respectfully, not only to the supreme deity, but also because he was Gu Mingming's father. The beast deity released his grip and held Gu Mingming's other hand, saying, Come, my precious daughter, accompany Daddy to watch television. With that, the beast deity pulled Gu Meng Meng to sit on the long bench for two people, while Elvis had no place to sit and could only sit on the ground beside Gu Meng Meng. His eyes were filled with deep love and he could not see anything other than Gu Meng Meng. The beast deity had no time to care about Elvis's thoughts. With a wave of his hand, a screen-like object appeared in front of the three of them. The setting was the amusement park at the end of the previous television series. The first attraction was called Waves Blossoming. A two-person seashell flew up and down, as if it was floating on the surface of the sea. When the attraction was activated, colorful bubbles would spurt out from the side, complementing the romantic music to create a relaxing and sweet atmosphere. As Snake and Gu Meng Meng had called out too hastily, none of them brought their family members. Only Snake and Gu Meng Meng were a couple and sat together. The rest were either two men or two women. But, in the past, Gu Meng Meng was the one sitting with Bailon. Now that Gu Meng Meng was accompanying Snake, Bailon was alone. She sat on the seashell alone and had just fastened her seatbelt when she heard her roommate shout to the staff in the studio, Beautiful sister, there's no need to play music later. We have our own BGM. The staff readily agreed. After all, they had booked the entire place and were the boss. They could do whatever they wanted. Before Gu Mengmeng could react, Bai Lan's face darkened and she roared, "Ning Qizhu, do you have to be so ruthless? Gu Mengmeng, shut your mouth. You are not allowed to sing, do you hear me?" Gu Mengmeng, who was still in a daze, instantly understood what their background music was when she heard Bai Lan's shout. She burst out laughing. Snake roughly knew what background music they were talking about, but he did not say it out loud. He just looked at Gu Mingming's radiant smile and felt extremely happy. The small shell started to move, and colorful bubbles were blown out from the four corners. When the wind blew, the bubbles scattered, making the whole scene look beautiful. 1, 2, 3. After Ning Qizhu counted to 3, all the girls started singing in unison, "We're different. You're the only one in the dormitory who doesn't have a girlfriend." The chorus, accompanied by the rising and falling laughter, brightened Gu Mingming's face and warmed Snake's eyes. After coming down from the waves, Bai Lan pointed at Gu Mengmeng with a pained expression. "You little girl, even you betrayed me." Gu Mengmeng hid in Snake's arms and laughed hysterically. Only the heavens knew that she was the one being sung along with Bai Lan for the past half a year. So it was quite interesting to bully others like this. Chapter 1288. Zhang Jinqing shook his head and instinctively glanced at Gu Mengmeng. Originally, he could have had a girlfriend. But he was intercepted. King have it now. With that, Bai Lan locked her arms around Zhang Jincheng's neck and kissed him. That ferocity, it was as if she wanted to eat Zhang Jincheng like he was a smoked pork rib. Both boys and girls were heckling. Snake did not join in, but his lips unknowingly curled upwards. Although this Bai Lan's words were not pleasant to hear, it was undeniable that she would always help him get rid of those eyesores. Although Zhang Jinqing did not receive Gu Mingming's love letter and the two of them did not even manage to complete a full confession that day, Snakel was still very unhappy that Zhang Jinqing was very handsome in Gu Mingming's eyes and was her type. However, if he had a girlfriend, and it was Gu Mingming's best friend, Bai Lan, then there would be no chance for the two of them. Yes, lovers should get married in the end. The 192 tall Zhang Jinqing was held by the neck by the 175 tall Bai Lan in the amusement park for the entire afternoon. When they came out of the amusement park, Zhang Jinqing broke free from Bai Lan's grip and said, "Bai Lan, there's something I have to make clear to you. Your confession doesn't count. We can't be considered a couple right now." Bai Lan was also very straightforward. She had never liked Zhang Jinqing in the first place, but she had been so infuriated by Gu Mengmeng and the other two that she had fooled around. So she simply nodded and said, "Sure." With that, Bai Lan let go. She chuckled and turned to look for Gu Mengmeng and the rest to play. But the moment she turned, someone grabbed her wrist again. Bai Lan turned around and looked at Zhang Jinqing with a puzzled expression, asking with her eyes, "What are you doing?" Zhang Jinqing gulped and said, "Bai Lan, I like you, be my girlfriend." "Aw." Bai Lan looked at Zhang Jinqing in disbelief, not understanding what he meant. "Didn't you just say?" Zhang Jinqing scratched the back of his head and said, "Things like confessions should be left to the guys. Since I like you, I can't let you feel wronged. Whatever other girls have, I'll definitely let you have it too. Even if I can't give you the whole world, I can at least give you my whole world." Bai Lan blinked her eyes and said, "So you mean, at least, I have to give you a formal confession?" Zhang Jinqing smiled and said, "We've already kissed, you can't not take responsibility." Bai Lan snickered and hooked her arm around Zhang Jincheng's neck. "All right, Lilith Miss will take care of it." Since Zhang Jinqing and Bai Lan were officially dating today, everyone decided to follow the basketball club's rules and go to KTV for another night. When did this rule start? Yeah, it started when Gu Mengmeng and Snake were dating. That night, Snake occupied the seat on Gu Mingming's left, while Bai Lan sat on Gu Mingming's right. Zhang Jinqing sat on Bai Lan's right, while Bai Lan gave Gu Mengmeng a look. Now do you understand why I don't like him? Bai Lan glanced at Snake's face, then used the excuse of being tipsy to tell Gu Mengmeng, "Men, you can't choose someone who is too domineering, you have to choose someone you can control. You see, there are 3 typical cases." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and raised her eyebrows, asking, "Which 3?" Chapter 1289. First, Pan Jinlian. Bai Lan said as she counted on her fingers. Gu Mengmeng choked on her drink and almost spat it onto Bai Lan's face. She asked in disbelief, "Who did you say?" "Pan Jinlian." Bai Lan seemed a little tipsy as she looked at Gu Mengmeng blankly. She reiterated, yes, Pan Jinlian. "Big sister, I studied in primary school after all, don't lie to me." Gu Mengmeng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Even if she was busy working and did not study much, it was impossible for her not to recognize Pan Jinlian. She was not a good teaching material. Bai Lan waved a finger in front of Gu Mengmeng, making a no gesture. She said, "Listen to me. Pan Jinlian, tell us what?" Burp. "Ah, I remember now. Pan Jinlian told us that men. If you like them, keep them. If you don't like them, poison them to death and replace them. Simple and straightforward. Right, but look at your great Buddha. Does he look like someone who can force poison down his throat? Ha. Nope. Not at all." Gu Mengmeng was speechless. She subconsciously glanced at Snake, only to see him playing with her hair with a forced smile. He whispered into her ear in a voice that only the 2 of them could hear, "I will definitely drink the poison you gave me in 1 gulp. But poison is useless against me." Gu Mengmeng treated it as a joke. She elbowed him and shook her head with a smile. She turned to Bai Lan, only to see Bai Lan counting with her second finger. "Who is the second case?" "It's Wu Zetian." "Wu Zetian? What did Wu Zetian have to do with love? Wasn't she most famous for becoming the emperor?" Bai Lan poked Gu Mingming's head with a "look at you don't know anything" expression. She continued, "Wu Zetian told us that men should be kept if they are obedient. If they don't understand, then kill them. If you can fight, try not to make a ruckus." Gu Mengmeng, was that so? "I did not study much, don't lie to me." Bai Lan raised her 3rd finger and laughed. Case number 3, Xuanzang. Gu Mingming's eyes almost popped out as she shook Bai Lan's shoulders. "Sister, wake up. Xuanzang is a man and a monk at that. He has nothing to do with love." Bai Lan shook her head and said, "You're such an inexperienced little girl, why are you so naive? Why are you so naive?" Gu Mengmeng looked at Bai Lan in confusion, but Bai Lan continued, "Tell me, why did so many fairies fight to marry Tripitaka in Journey to the West?" Why? Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and said, "Tripitaka is handsome." Bai Lan shook her head. "Because Xuanzang is delicious and nutritious. So, after we get married, we can live. If we can't, we can still eat." Gu Mengmeng felt that there was nothing wrong with this logic. He slapped his thigh and laughed heartily. Bai Lan suddenly stopped laughing. She snatched Gu Mengmeng from Snakel's arms and hugged her. Then she wailed, "But why did you have to choose such a powerful man?" Chapter 1290. Bai Lan suddenly stopped crying. She stared at Gu Mengmeng for a long time before nodding. "That's true." Gu Mengmeng did not know whether to laugh or cry at Bai Lan's words. Her reply made Gu Mengmeng very flustered. Bai Lan sniffled. "It's all right, girl, don't be afraid. If this grandson bullies you one day, I will protect you even if I die. Snake did not say a word. He just wrapped his arm around Gu Mingming's waist and carried her back into his arms before leaving. With the previous experience, Zhang Jinqing and the rest were not surprised by his sudden departure. They only held back the crying and throwing a tantrum by Lan to stop her from chasing after Gu Mengmeng. Snake had already reached his limit today. If Bai Lan continued to chase after Gu Mengmeng and become a third wheel, Snake might just kill her. Back at the villa, Snake immediately pressed Gu Mengmeng onto the bed and kissed her lips without any explanation. Gu Mengmeng struggled for a while before giving up. She wrapped her arms around Snake's neck and kissed him affectionately. Getting Gu Mingming's response, Snake became even more brazen. The kiss lasted for a long time, so long that Gu Mengmeng was almost out of breath. Snake then released her. He gritted his teeth. Why should we die together? Even if you die, you should die in my arms. I will protect you. Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a long time before she realized that Snake was referring to Bai Lan. She chuckled. Bai Lan just drank too much. It's just words. Why take it so seriously? But she said I will bully you. Snake frowned. He was very bothered. Gu Mengmeng retorted. Then will you bully me? Snake's gaze darkened and his lips curled up slightly. Maybe in a specific place, like on the bed. Gu Mengmeng blushed. She pushed Snake. Don't fool around, Snake did not cross the line. He just hugged Gu Mengmeng and kissed her to his heart's content. Then, he reluctantly watched her enter the bathroom to shower. Meanwhile, he sat on the bed and listened to the sound of the water in the bathroom. It was as if he was torturing himself. He did not want to step back from this room. When Gu Mengmeng came out of the bathroom in her pajamas, she gave Snake a meaningful smile. Gu Mengmeng lowered her head to look at her cartoon-like top and bottom sleepiness. This was definitely the ultimate weapon to kill off any ambiguous atmosphere. Unless Snakel had a special fetish, he would never misunderstand that this set of sleepiness had any ulterior motives or hints. But Gu Mengmeng did not know that in Snake's eyes, all he saw was a fresh and tender Gu Mengmeng who was still emitting steam. For example, if you were hungry and bought a meat bun for breakfast, would you care about the color of the advertisement printed on the plastic of the bun? Tu Meng, why don't we put the wedding on the agenda? Gu Mengmeng was shocked. Even though she had never been in a relationship before, Gu Mengmeng still had the heart of a young girl. She had imagined countless marriage proposals, but never did she expect that one day, when she pushed open the door of the bathroom, she would see a man with green eyes saying the word marriage to her, who was wearing cartoon pajamas. Chapter 1291. The next day was Monday and school was in session as usual. Snake kept his formal attire and put on the same matching outfit as Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng felt a little shy. After all, they were still in school. Wouldn't it be too high profile for them to dress like this? But Snake said, "Silly girl, I can't wait for the whole world to know that we are a couple, so that those people won't know what's good for them and have designs on you." Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, "You are the most popular person in the school. There will definitely be more people who have designs on you than on me." Snake kissed Gu Mingming's little mouth and said, "I will keep my chastity for you." Gu Mengmeng blushed and felt dizzy. Combined with his self-talk and self-denial of his proposal last night, this sentence sounded even more meaningful to Gu Mengmeng. After reaching school, Gu Mengmeng saw the results list on the bulletin board and remembered that today was the day the mock test results were announced. So she squeezed her way over anxiously. There was no doubt that Snake was first in the year. But wait a minute. Shouldn't Snake be in his second year? Why was he in the first year's list? Gu Mengmeng turned to look at Snake with a face full of confusion. Snake chuckled and said, "I entered school a year earlier to be your Prince Charming Senior. But now, since I am your boyfriend, I should be by your side all the time." So I stayed back a year to accompany you. Snake placed his large hand on Gu Mingming's shoulder and leaned against her lazily. He tilted his head and smiled at her, asking, "Are you touched? Kiss me if you're touched." Gu Mengmeng blushed and looked around. There were too many people around and Gu Mengmeng really could not bring herself to kiss him. Snake saw her hesitation and so pinched her little chin and pecked her on the mouth, saying, "You should fight for your own benefits." Gu Mengmeng was dazzled by Snake's smile. How could there be such a good-looking person in this world? He was so exquisite that he seemed like a character that only existed in cartoons. And he was her boyfriend. Because of Snake, Gu Mengmeng had even forgotten to check her own results. The preparatory bell had already rung and Snake pulled Gu Mingming's hand into the classroom. The morning breeze carried the scent of books around them. As Snakel was too dazzling, Gu Mengmeng could not see anything else apart from him. She just let herself be led by him into the classroom in a daze and sat at the back near the corner. She spent the entire lesson in a daze, with waves of numbness coming from her palms. Until the end of the lesson, someone stood at the door and shouted, "Gu Mengmeng, there's a guy at the school entrance looking for you." "Looking for me?" Gu Mengmeng was quite surprised. Who would come to school to look for her? But Snake was focused on another important point, male. Gu Mengmeng shook her head, indicating that she did not know either. Snake hugged Gu Mingming's shoulders and said, "Since you don't know, you don't have to bother about it." Gu Mengmeng felt that it was not a good idea, but when she said that she wanted to go take a look, Snake's face was so cold that ice could form, so she could only give up. But halfway through the second lesson, the faculty head suddenly knocked on the door and waved at Gu Mengmeng, saying, "Gu Mengmeng, come out for a while." Chapter 1292. At the end of the school corridor, there was a man standing by the window. His back was hunched and he looked a little down and out. Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a long time. She did not go near or leave. She just stood there as if the whole world had stopped. The blood in her body froze and her hands were frighteningly cold. Snake frowned and looked at Gu Mengmeng, asking, "What's wrong? Are you not feeling well?" Gu Mingming's teeth could not stop chattering and her pupils were shaking violently. She bit her lower lip tightly and could not say a word. She just stared straight at the man in front of her. The master of the school left after exchanging a few words with the man. The man walked to Gu Mengmeng and glanced at Snake, who was holding hands with Gu Mengmeng. He smiled and said, "Mengmeng, aren't you going to introduce him to your father?" "There's no need." Gu Mingming's voice was trembling. She could not tell if it was from fear or hatred. "Nonsense." The man put on a stern face and said with the air of a father, "I am your father. Shouldn't you inform me that you have a boyfriend?" "Father." When she was 3 years old, she divorced her mother because the woman she had an affair with got pregnant. In order to monopolize the property, he fought for custody and forced her mother to leave the family with nothing. Her mother chose to give in so that she could receive better care. In the end, the third party gave birth to a daughter the next year. This man who called himself father started to beat and kick Gu Mengmeng, saying that she was unlucky and caused the son in the third party's womb to become a daughter. Then the third party sent Gu Mingming's mother a photo of Gu Mengmeng being beaten till she was on the brink of death. He threatened that if she did not bring this burden away, the child who ran around randomly might get into a car accident again. Her mother's heart ached for Gu Mengmeng and she brought her away without a care in the world. Since then, this man whom she had never seen again was now using the air of a father to ask her why she did not tell him that she had a boyfriend. Gu Mengmeng did not want to talk to him, not even a single word. She turned to leave but the man growled behind her, "Is this the lesson that your incompetent mother taught you? Not answering your elders' questions and leaving just like that?" Gu Mengmeng bit her lower lip and did not say a word. Her mind was blank and she could not think of anything. She just wanted to stay further away from this man. Snake frowned. He did not like people treating Gu Mengmeng with such an attitude. In Gu Mingming's memory, this man called Daddy had never appeared from the age of 4 until she transmigrated to the beast world, so Snake did not take him seriously. After all, although he had heard Gu Mengmeng, from a certain point of view, this man had an indelible contribution for Gu Mengmeng to appear in front of him. But now, from the looks of it, ever since Snake snatched Gu Mingming's love letter, the trajectory of her life had started to deviate. She would no longer transmigrate to the beast world to meet Elvis and Leah, but she would have to face the many malicious intents that this world had placed on her. Gu Mengmeng pulled Snake into the female washroom. Just as she was about to close the door, she realized that Snake was also there. Without saying a word, she just pushed Snake away a little before locking the toilet door from the inside. She curled up on the toilet bowl and hugged her knees as she cried her heart out. Chapter 1293. That man had not left yet. Seeing Gu Mengmeng running away, he even chased her to the entrance of the female toilet. He had been so aggressive as if he wanted to rush in and beat Gu Mengmeng up, but was blocked by Snake at the entrance. Without saying a word, Snake grabbed him by the neck. The hand that could hold a basketball with one hand grabbed the man's swollen neck and lifted upwards. The man's back rubbed against the wall and his feet gradually left the ground. "My woman is crying, looks like it's all your fault." A pair of dark green eyes shone with a cold light, exuding a sinister aura that did not match his age. The corners of his lips were clearly curled upwards, but it was like the lines of the Grim Reaper's scythe, exuding an arc that could take one's life. "You really have the guts to easily do something that even I don't dare to do." The man did not doubt that the green-eyed man in front of him would really strangle him to death. He struggled with all his might but to no avail. He grabbed onto Snake's wrist tightly to fight for a bit of breathing space and said with his choked throat, "Murder is against the law." But Snake laughed, tilted his head and asked. She disappeared from the world after she was 4 years old, hiding like a mouse in the gutter to avoid the $500 of child support every month. "Suddenly, you came knocking on my door. Wasn't it because you found out my identity that you pounced on me like a stray dog that smelled meat?" Snake slowly approached the man and narrowed his eyes. "You know, right? I am the royal family of F country and have the title of a prince. As long as I say that you attacked me and I killed you in self-defense, do you think the diplomats of your country will instigate a conflict between the two countries because of you, or hand over your mistress and illegitimate child to me for me to slaughter?" "I am her father." In the end, the man could only say these 4 words in a staccato manner. Snake snorted coldly and loosened his grip, causing the man to fall onto the ground with a thud. Then, he lay there panting heavily and coughing violently. Snake looked down at the man from above and said coldly, "If you are sincerely apologizing and coaxing her to be happy and acknowledge you as her father, I don't mind spending some money to give her a facade of familial harmony. Unfortunately, you're too stupid. You've wasted the title of a future father-in-law. Let me tell you, unless she takes the initiative to find you, otherwise, you will continue to hide in the gutter and be your rat. If she shed another tear, I'll let you see what the world looks like after dark. Get lost." The last word was said in a low voice. The man seemed to have been pardoned and scrambled away. Meanwhile, Snake entered the female bathroom and first turned on the tap to wash his hands. Then, he knocked on the door of the cubicle Gu Mengmeng was in and said, "Even if the sky falls, there's still me. If you want to cry, cry in my arms. Let me be alone for a while, sob sob. I beg you." Gu Mengmeng tried her best to suppress her sobs. She also felt very useless. They were strangers whom she had only met once in more than 10 years, but she was crying like this after just one meeting and he did not say anything overboard. It seemed like she was making a mountain out of a molehill. But that stranger whom she had not seen for more than 10 years, was her father. Chapter 1294. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng wasn't going to open the door, Snake knew that there was no point in trying to persuade her, so he took 2 steps back, ran up and jumped up. With one hand on the door frame, he flipped over and jumped in. Without another word, he hugged Gu Mengmeng in his arms and said helplessly, "For you, I have done all sorts of embarrassing things. If others see the CEO of Monster Company climbing over the walls of the female toilet, tomorrow's headlines will probably be all about me." Gu Mingming's tears turned into laughter at Snake's teasing. Her tears were still on her face, but she still laughed out loud. Snake held Gu Mingming's face gently and said while wiping away her tears, "TSK, you were already ugly, but now that you're crying, you're even uglier." Gu Mengmeng was stunned. She immediately covered her face with both hands and said, "That's why I told you not to come in, let me be alone for a while." Which girl didn't want to maintain their best image in front of the person they liked? Especially when the other party was someone as perfect as Snake. Even if she tried her best, she would not be able to match up to him. Now that she was crying so badly, she was even more unworthy of him. Gu Mengmeng was actually very bothered by Snake's disdain. But Snake grabbed her hands and placed them on the back of his waist. Then, he went downstairs and pulled Gu Mengmeng into his arms. He supported the back of her head with one hand and pressed it against his chest. He smiled and said, "Let you be alone. That won't do. If you can't even lean against my chest when you cry, then what's the point of having me as your boyfriend? But ugly, you'll despise me, no matter how ugly you are. You're still my woman." Snake kissed the top of Gu Mingming's head and said, "So, I will despise you while loving you more." Gu Mingming's heart melted. She hugged Snake in his arms and slowly calmed her emotions. The bell signaling the end of class rang and the female students walked in groups of 2s and 3s. Snake wanted to go out but was stopped by Gu Mengmeng. If she were to walk out of the ladies' toilet with Snake in such a situation, who knew what kind of indecent rumors would spread about them? Did you see Gu Mingming's results? She's ranked 429th. There are only 450 people in the entire cohort, and she's actually ranked 429th. A girl's tone was full of ridicule. Gu Mengmeng blushed. In the morning, she had been staring at Snake's name in a daze and did not notice her own results. That's right. She wondered what Snake saw in her. He doesn't look outstanding, doesn't speak well, doesn't have a family background, and even his studies are a mess. What kind of results are those? Even if you made a mistake and chose C, you shouldn't have gotten this result, right? Maybe he's a top student. Otherwise, how could he perfectly avoid all the correct answers? I was pretending to be dumb on purpose so that I could get closer to Snake. Senior, I don't know how to answer this question. Can you please teach me? The girls purposely pinched their throats and used an artificial voice to imagine Gu Mengmeng and Snake's conversation, before bursting into laughter outside. Gu Mengmeng bit her lower lip and did not say a word. Snake, on the other hand, could not take it anymore. He directly pushed open the door and walked out. He stared coldly at the gaping girls and said, "What does my Tuming's results have to do with you?" In an instant, the female toilet seemed to have frozen over. Everyone froze and even stopped breathing in shock. Chapter 1295. The white mist gradually gathered. The beast deity sighed and said, "It's all right. I am your real father." Gu Mengmeng now understood why the beast deity treated Elvis that way from the start. She also understood why he kept emphasizing that he would back her up. It was because he was afraid that she would break down when she saw the scene of her father knocking on her door in that world. Did he feel wronged? Actually, there was still a little. So when that Gu Mengmeng was crying in the toilet, this Gu Mengmeng was also crying in Elvis's arms. Perhaps, as she still had some expectations for kinship, yes. Gu Mengmeng did not want more people to worry for her, so she forced a smile and calmed herself down. After taking a few deep breaths, Gu Mengmeng felt that she had adjusted her state of mind. Then, she smiled at the beast deity. "Father, I've finished watching the television series. Where's my pocket money?" The beast deity stroked Gu Mingming's hair dotingly and indulgently. "Say it, what do you want to ask?" Gu Mengmeng chuckled and pointed at the red spider lily on Elvis's chest, saying, "After I returned from the Mecca desert, I seem to have forgotten something. I clearly obtained the heart of the desert, and I'm very sure that I obtained it non-violently, but I just can't remember." The beast deity smiled and said, "The person you have forgotten is someone who does not belong to the beast world. It's useless to remember. As long as the result is good, it's fine." Gu Mengmeng understood that no one would be able to get the beast deity to reveal anything he did not want to, so she did not persist and only said, "Then Father, do you know who the great lord that Gregory mentioned is?" The beast deity nodded and replied, "It was one of Wang Xiaoxin's partners. He guarded a path for her to return home for 1,000 years after her death. His identity was special. He was born heartless, so although they were partners, Wang Xiaoxin did not have his mark on her. As a result, many people thought that he was a male that was abandoned by Wang Xiaoxin, but that was not the case. He was a natural stray beast, a transcendent existence in the beast world. How should I put it? Oh, that's right. Let me quote a line from a movie I watched 2 days ago. It's if he becomes Buddha, there will be no demons in the world. If he becomes a demon, there will be nothing Buddha can do. So powerful. The great sage, heaven's equal." Gu Mengmeng instinctively replied. The beast god nodded and chuckled. "You can say that. Because I don't have a heart, I don't have any concept of good and evil, right and wrong. Everything I do is based on my whims." In his entire life, he only liked Wang Xiaoxin. Oh, then the engagement between the vulture tribe and him, the beast deity chuckled as he glanced at Elvis. Then, he retracted his gaze and said, "Wang Xiaoxin from 1,000 years ago, I guessed that you would be the successor as the messenger of the beast deity 1,000 years later. I also guessed that you would go to the Mecca desert to retrieve the heart of the desert. But I didn't expect that. You wouldn't use the heart of the desert on yourself, but," Gu Mengmeng face-bombed and said, "So Wang Xiaoxin wanted to arrange my marriage 1,000 years ago and introduce a bird man to be my husband, right?" Chapter 1297. Gu Mengmeng felt that the beast deity's words did not comfort her at all. Strictly speaking, there were 3 people who had died in her hands in the beast world. The first was Nina. She had ordered him to be killed and she did not regret it. The second was Snake. She did not kill him but he had died for her. After that, she gained 1,000 years of memories for no reason. This memory tormented her until she was mentally and physically exhausted. The third was, who was it? He had died in her hands. From what the beast deity said, she had done it herself. But she had no recollection of it at all. It was the complete opposite of what happened to Snake. Who the hell would do good every day be killing people? The beast deity patted Gu Mingming's shoulder. Living a little longer may be a blessing. But living for too long is a form of punishment. It was the same for Snake. It is the same for that person. You ended their lives. To them, it is a form of release. If one day, you recall what happened then, you will know that I will not lie to you. Gu Mengmeng knew that there was no point in being distressed. She could only sigh in resignation. Father, what should we do now? Wabi is always afraid of me. The beast deity squatted down and looked into Gu Mingming's eyes. Very simple. Give him a drop of your blood and he will not be afraid of you. Gu Mengmeng looked at the beast deity doubtfully. Just like that. The beast deity nodded. Yeah, just like that. Don't you know? Deities cannot lie. Gu Mengmeng nodded with a smile. All right, father. I will go back first. I took too long this time. I am afraid Leah will be worried. The beast deity kissed Gu Mingming's forehead with a smile. Be good and go back. I will watch some good television dramas during this period of time. I will learn how to deal with my son-in-law. With that, the beast deity turned to smile at Elvis. You are welcome to accompany Gu Mengmeng back to her home again. Then, it was a free fall. Gu Mengmeng was already used to this feeling of falling. But Elvis was clearly very nervous. He hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly the entire time, as if he was afraid that Gu Mengmeng would be blown away by the wind. Opening his eyes suddenly, he saw that Gu Mengmeng was still in his arms and his heart slowly calmed down. Gu Mengmeng was already used to switching back and forth, so she was not in a hurry to get up. She first opened her eyes to adjust to the light, before slowly sitting up. Leah had already prepared a cup of water and placed it in front of Gu Mengmeng. He watched her drink while saying to Elvis, "Let me carry you, you should also drink some water to moisten your throat." Elvis's throat was extremely dry, so he did not reject and handed Gu Mengmeng over to Leah, while he went to the side of the water tank to scoop up some water and gulped it down. Where's Wabi? The first thing Gu Mengmeng asked was little shit. She wanted to quickly resolve the matter of little shit being afraid of her. Leah kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, "It's hanging on the tree outside the house. He doesn't dare to come in and is worried about me taking care of the two of you alone, so he has been guarding the door." Gu Mengmeng said, "Ask him to come in, I have a way to solve the problem of him being afraid of me." Leah chuckled and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Mengmeng, Mengmeng, what happened to you?" Chapter 1298. Gu Mengmeng ignored the fight between Wabi and Leah. She quickly bit her finger and poked it into Wabi's mouth. Wabi jumped in fright and turned to look at Gu Mengmeng in shock. He had no idea what was going on. But when a faint sweetness spread through his mouth, Wabi's eyes widened and his body stiffened. He took a step back and pointed at Gu Mengmeng. You. I didn't bite you." Gu Mengmeng looked at him retreating to the corner of the wall, looking like a servant girl who had been forced by her husband. She couldn't help but laugh. "Hey, little shit. Come here." "I won't." Wabi crossed his arms and glared at Gu Mengmeng. He had never imagined that he would taste Gu Mingming's blood one day. How was he going to explain this to Snake? He had promised to protect her, but now there was her blood in his mouth. There was no way he could explain this. Gu Mengmeng patiently said gently, "Try to come closer to me." "Come on." Wabi shook his head and resisted with all his might. Gu Mingming's face darkened. "You seem to have forgotten that I am the Snake King." Yes, ever since the mark on the back of Gu Mingming's neck changed from Snake's personal protection mark to the family's protection mark, Gu Mengmeng was the new Snake King. But she had ordered the Snake clan to continue living in the Snake King Valley and didn't have to serve her. So she wasn't surrounded by huskies like Elvis. Wabi was taken aback. He said reluctantly, "TSK, you even learned how to bully the snake." Gu Mengmeng couldn't keep up her gentle facade. She arched one leg and rested her arm on her knee. She crooked her finger. "Since you know I am bullying the snake, hurry over. Why must I use my status as the Beast King to suppress you? TSK, hurry up." Wabi dawdled over to Gu Mengmeng with a look of disdain. "I have to come over just because you asked me to. Do I not want my face? Just you wait, when I break through the Beast King bloodline, I will kill you." Gu Mengmeng stood up from the bed and jumped high to hook her arms around Wabi's neck. "You dare to talk back to me like this? Looks like you are really not afraid of me. Right?" Wabi was also taken aback by Gu Mingming's words. He turned around abruptly to look at her, his hands clutching her shoulders in a death grip from the agitation. The corners of his mouth widened until his 2 rows of pearly white teeth were all exposed to the guests. Gu Meng Meng. I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. Gu Meng Meng was about to fall apart from Wabiai's shaking. She felt so dizzy and nauseous. Sigh. It hurts. Gu Meng Meng raised her hand and slapped Wabiai's head. Wabiai was sent flying into the corner of the wall. Gu Meng Meng rubbed her shoulder, which had turned red from Wabiai's grip, as she slowly walked over. She squatted beside Wabiai and smiled from the bottom of her heart. She reached out a hand in front of Wabiai. Welcome back. Wabiai reached out to hold Gu Meng Meng's little hand. Chapter 1299. Gu Meng Meng allowed Wabiai to hug her with all his might, like a willful child hugging a toy he had lost and found. There was no hint of intimacy between a man and a woman, just the fear of losing a friend or even a relative. Little shit, thank you for being afraid of losing me, and thank you for coming back, but my waist is about to break, can't you be a little gentler? Not only did Wabiai not loosen his grip, he hugged her even more tightly. He laughed out loud. Gentle my ass. I will be the Snake King if I strangle you to death. Scram. Gu Meng Meng raised her hand to give Wabiai another slap, causing him to fall to the ground. Wabiai sprawled on the ground, twitching, not even lifting his face. Gu Meng Meng felt a little guilty. Are you serious? Did you become epileptic from being beaten? Wabiai shook his head but didn't say a word. Gu Meng Meng squatted there in confusion. She poked Wabiai with a finger and asked worriedly, did I hit you too hard? Are you alright? Scram, don't bother me. Let me lie here for a while. Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. Damn, why did he sound like he was crying? She grabbed Wabiai's hair and lifted his head up. Gu Meng Meng looked at Wabiai in shock. A little shit, you are actually crying. I am not crying. Don't you slander me. Since he had already been seen, Wabiai didn't bother burying his face anymore. He pulled Gu Meng Meng back into his arms. I thought I would never be able to fight with you again in this lifetime. Gu Meng Meng's heart warmed. She hugged Wabiai back and gently patted his back. If he continued to be so afraid of her and hide far away from her, he would never be able to fight with her again. There was a relationship that was forged through fighting. The more they fought, the better the relationship would be. This relationship was called Wabiai and Gu Meng Meng. Wabiai started feeling awkward after he calmed down. He had lived for 800 years and was second only to Snake in the beast world in terms of being feared by others. But he was actually beaten to tears by a little female. Although Gu Meng Meng's family of 3 did not mention this matter, the way Leah and Elvis looked at him was really enough. Wabiai raised half his body and rushed towards Elvis. Little wolf, I heard that you have become a beast king. Come and fight with me to loosen up my muscles. Elvis waved his hand. The wild wolves that were baring their teeth and about to pounce on Wabiai suppressed the low growls coming from their throats and maintained a posture that was ready to leap and attack at any moment. They took 2 steps back, but their eyes were still fixed on Wabiai, guarding against his every move. Elvis carried Gu Meng Meng and said, I can't fight with you now. Why? Wabiai was displeased. Elvis tidied the stray hair on Gu Meng Meng's forehead and said, if I accidentally kill you, Xiao Meng will be upset. I won't do anything that will upset Xiao Meng. Wabiai narrowed his eyes and flashed his poisonous fangs. Was he being looked down upon by this little wolf? Right? He swung his snake tail at Elvis without using any strength. Elvis leaped backwards easily and did not get angry. He just said softly, those wooden barrels over there are filled with Xiao Meng's grape wine. Xiao Meng will definitely be angry if you ruin it. Wabiai's tail forcefully stopped a step away from the barrel. He turned around and sneered. Fight with me or I will ruin this broken barrel. Chapter 1300. Wabi gritted his teeth. Little wolf pup, you have been corrupted. This couple was actually using the same trick to threaten him. Damn it. They were both beast kings and were more powerful than him. He was the one being bullied all the time. She sighed, the truth was nothing in Snake's eyes. As long as Gu Meng Meng opened her mouth, even if she said fishes were flying in the sky and birds were swimming in the water, Snake would never hesitate to believe her. Elvis smiled. Thank you for your compliment. While Gu Meng Meng was settling Wabi's matter, Leah had already prepared a pot of food. He called Gu Meng Meng and Elvis out to eat. Besides Gu Meng Meng's family of 3, there was also Wabi, Ian, Gregory and the unshakable Oriton. Because of Gregory's presence, no one mentioned anything about the news Gu Meng Meng had received from the beast deity. After all, Gregory was not one of them. Although he liked Gu Meng Meng, he was not someone who could share information with Wabi, Ian and Oriton. Gu Meng Meng asked as she ate, how long did I sleep this time? Lee's gaze drifted to Gregory. 5 days. 5 days, Gu Meng Meng nodded. Gregory, so you are leaving today? Gregory's chest tightened. He nodded with much difficulty. Actually, there was a moment when he almost blurted out that his injuries had not healed and he wanted to stay for 2 more days to recuperate. But, the males of the vulture tribe had an inextinguishable pride in their bones. Although Gu Meng Meng had pushed him a little too hard that day, he had recovered after recuperating for 3 days. He was unwilling to show weakness in front of Gu Meng Meng, and even more unwilling to lie to her. So, have you thought of a reason to convince me to bring you up the mountain? Gregory's gaze deepened. His seemingly calm eyes hid a surging anticipation. Gu Meng Meng shook her head. Her gaze landed on Elvis's chest. She smiled. The marriage agreement between the vulture tribe and that great lord seems to be impossible to fulfill. I've met with that lord, and he asked me to tell you that the engagement is over. From today onwards, the leader of your vulture tribe is free to marry. You don't have to guard that engagement to the death and be lonely for the rest of your lives. Gregory's face carried a tinge of disappointment and desolation. To the vulture tribe, that engagement was a promise, but also a shackle. Now that it had been undone, he did not feel as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Could he pursue Gu Meng Meng now that he was no longer engaged? But, why didn't he feel the slightest bit of joy? I understand now. The difficulties between him and her had never been because of that engagement. He was about to leave, and she didn't even try to stop him. He was prepared. No matter how ridiculous her excuse was, as long as she revealed even the slightest desire for him to stay or for him to take her away, he would agree. However, she actually shook her head so calmly and even gave him a release, allowing him to marry freely. You don't want the love of the sky? Gregory asked softly. Gu Meng Meng smiled and said, yes, of course. Without that thing, my man won't let me bear children. Gregory felt as if his heart had been sliced by a small knife. So she had put in so much effort to find the love of the sky just so she could bear children for her partner. Chapter 1301. Gregory felt that he should turn around and fly back to the Moda Mountains in a carefree manner, leaving Gu Meng Meng with a proud and aloof back view and an aloof image. As long as he left, she would never be able to ascend the Moda Mountains and obtain the love of the sky. She would also not be able to bear the children of those 2 males. It was a childish idea, but Grace just couldn't suppress the sour taste that kept bubbling up in her heart. But, thinking was just thinking, he could not spread his wings. He clearly wanted to say, then I will leave, but when he opened his mouth, he said, then how do you intend to ascend the mountain? Gu Meng Meng held her cheek and thought for a while. Then, she shook her head and said, I have not thought about it yet. Things will eventually sort themselves out. If there is really no other way, I will summon the beasts in the beast world to accompany me to be a foolish old man and dig out the mountain. Gregory's gaze froze and he asked softly with a frown, "You are serious?" Gu Mengmeng chuckled and said, "Of course not serious." She took the rice from Elvis and swallowed it after chewing a few times. Then, she said, "I know what the Moda Mountains mean to the birds' tribe. How can I destroy the mountain for my own selfish desires? I was just saying it casually, don't take it seriously." Gregory's gaze dimmed for a moment. Actually, he wanted to say that if Gu Mengmeng was serious, then he would have a reason to give in. For the sake of the birds' tribe, he could lower his head and say, "I will bring you up the mountain, don't destroy the Moda Mountains." With such a dignified reason, would he be able to cover up his dirty and selfish thoughts and stay by her side for a few more days? Gregory laughed bitterly in his heart. He did not expect that he would become so despicable in just a month's time. Then, "I'll be going." Saying goodbye, Gregory sat on the same spot without moving an inch. Gu Mengmeng said, "Wait a moment." Gregory's eyes brightened instantly and he could not hide his anticipation when he looked at Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng turned around and returned to the stone castle. She took out a beautiful feather fan and handed it to Gregory. She said, "I promised you that I will give you the first fan. Treat it as a parting gift. I wish you a pleasant journey." Gregory's fingertips felt slightly cold. He took the fan from Gu Mengmeng and his eyes that had just lit up dimmed again. He nodded and said, "Thank you." In the end, she did not ask him to stay. Even though he knew that she needed him to go to Moda Mountains, she still let him go without hesitation. He had emphasized time and again that only the tribe leader of the vulture race would descend the mountain after receiving the Lord's notice. Now that the Lord was no longer around, he would be the last person to descend the mountain. He was her only hope to ascend the mountain. He had already said that he was important enough, but in her eyes, he was still as light as a feather. She even broke off the marriage contract, which blocked his excuse to go down the mountain again. What did she say last time? "Ah, this fan was so beautiful." In the future, if he gave it to a female he liked, he might be able to get a wife back to Moda Mountains. But what could he do? The wife he wanted to abduct back to Moda Mountains did not seem to care about this fan, so she easily gave it to him as a parting gift. "Goodbye." Gregory's gaze landed on Gu Mengmeng's face and he could only say these two words in the end. "Yeah, goodbye." Gu Mengmeng waved goodbye to Gregory and did not say anything about asking him to stay. Chapter 1302. That bird man is clearly interested in you. Why don't you take him in? Wabi sprawled lazily on the table. He picked up a small rock and threw it at Gu Mengmeng's head. Gu Mengmeng clutched her head and glared at Wabi. "Are you courting death? How dare you throw a rock at me?" Wabi grinned and nodded. "Yes, I dare to throw a rock at you." Gu Mengmeng held her forehead. Wabi had yet to recover from the fact that he was no longer afraid of her. Provoking her had become his only method of getting close to her. The word dare had him bewitched. She rolled her eyes at Wabi and didn't harp on the little rock. Anyway, it wasn't really that painful, so Gu Mengmeng didn't mind. "I know he likes me, so I can't make use of his feelings. Since I can't reciprocate, I can't let others misunderstand from the start." Gu Mengmeng glared at Leah and said, "In the past, I thought he would never like me, so I dared to let him wander around me. Who knew he would suddenly change his personality?" Leah shook his head and said, Wabi picked up another small rock from the ground and was about to throw it at Gu Mengmeng when she glared at him. "This is too big. My head will break if you throw it at me." Wabi threw the pebble-sized rock aside resentfully. He twitched his lips. "Beast King. So weak." Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes at Wabiai and ignored his provocation. She repeated what the beast deity had said to her in her dreams for everyone to hear. Wabiai frowned at Elvis and then at Leah. "TSK, you should have taken in that bird man just now. You should have taken in a few more powerful males too." Gu Mengmeng looked at Wabiai with a "why are you courting death" expression. "You changed your profession to being a pimp." Wabiai scoffed. "You are the pimp. You pimp the entire tribe." Gu Mengmeng gave Wabiai a look, indicating for him to look at Elvis's expression. Wabiai glanced at Elvis. "I have been by Snake's side for 800 years. Do you think I will be afraid of a mere newly crowned wolf king?" There's nothing wrong with that. Wabiai was a snake and Snake was the Snake King, so to Wabiai, not only did Snake suppress him in terms of combat power, he was also the undefeatable and absolute king in terms of species. Wabiai, who had not cowered even after being beaten up by Snake for 800 years, would definitely not be frightened by Elvis. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed and said, "Little shit, don't disturb the harmony of my family, alright?" Wabiai said, "It's not that I want to criticize you, but are you using all your ruthlessness on me? Why are you acting so cowardly when you see two useless people from your family?" Gu Mengmeng slammed the table and roared, "Just say what you want to say, don't attack me personally." Wabiai said, "Trash will always be trash." "Why can't I say that?" Seeing that Gu Mengmeng was about to lose her temper, Wabiai gestured for her to stop and continued, "According to the beast deity, you killed a strong stray beast in the Mecca desert. But weren't your two idiots there as well? Why do you have to do the rough work of killing people? No matter how I think about it, the only explanation is that these two idiots can't beat him. Damn it, males hiding behind their wives, what else can they be called if not trash?" Gu Mengmeng chuckled and said, "Little shit. I remember that when I was in the Mecca desert, you were, also, there." Chapter 1303. With that, Elvis and Leah became even more depressed. Yeah, both of them were around, so why did Gu Mengmeng have to kill someone? So King aggrieved. Wabiai continued. That's why partners must have quality and quantity. Although Little Wolf is a beast king now, he is not a three-headed, six-armed man. There will always be times when he cannot take care of you. To ensure that you can be taken care of better, you should find a few more partners. That way, you won't have to do it yourself the next time you want to kill someone. Gu Mengmeng was about to suffocate from Wabiai's anger. She scrunched her nose. "I'm not a homicidal maniac. Why would I kill so many people?" Wabiai chuckled. "It would be good if you were a homicidal maniac. At least you wouldn't look so unsettled just because you killed someone. It makes me angry." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. She then understood that Wabiai was saying those words because he was worried that she had killed someone during her amnesia. She smiled knowingly and nudged Wabiai's shoulder. "Actually, I don't have to find more partners to solve this problem. Don't I still have you?" Wabiai was soothed by Gu Mengmeng's words. His heart, liver, spleen, lungs and kidneys were all warmed up. He said with a smug expression, "All right, seeing how pitiful you are and how your two partners are useless, tell me the next time you want to kill someone. Even if I have to turn the beast world upside down, I will kill him for you." Gu Mengmeng smiled and elbowed Wabiai. My little shit is so reliable." Yes, Wabiai had completely accepted being called little shit. Hearing Gu Mengmeng call him that, he didn't feel anything and even felt like laughing. Gu Mengmeng and Wabiai's banter eased the tension at the table. But Li's expression remained grim. He scanned everyone at the table. No one is allowed to leak the fact that Mengmeng's blood can dispel the stray beast's fear of her. With that, Li's gaze landed on Ian's face. "You can't tell this even to your partner. Then, Leah glanced at Oriton and said, "Whoever dares to leak a word about this will be put on my blacklist of clients that I will never contact again." Never to meet again was equivalent to saying goodbye to Lee's culinary skills forever. Oriton's body trembled, and he said solemnly, "Don't worry, I won't say such things even in my dreams." Ian looked back at Leah with a sickly expression and said, "It's useless even if you tell your partner. Mandy is just a brainless fan of Gu Mang Mang." In Mandy's eyes, Gu Mang Mang is a naive, innocent, and kind little fairy who had descended to the mortal world to undergo a calamity. Even the hair she lost was because she was worried about saving the world, and her farts were fragrant and clean. If I dared to say anything bad about Gu Mang Mang to her face, in her eyes, would immediately become a vicious villain who obstructed Gu Mang Mang from achieving immortality and returning to the heavenly court. Leah chuckled. This little female Mandy has good taste." Ian was speechless. He sighed and looked at Gu Mang Mang. "I heard that there was a cripple among the stray beasts that came to deliver grapes to you. If I'm not wrong, it should be Cole. It's a pity he didn't dare to enter Sauter. It seems like he was scared off by you. Gu Mang Mang, you are becoming more and more powerful. You can even scare perverts away. Remember to tell Mandy that I praised you today." Digression, the author's words. Chapter 1304. At the mention of Cole, Lee's gaze darkened. As long as Cole knows that Wabi-I is not afraid of Meng Meng, he will understand that there is a way to overcome this fear. If he cannot get close to Meng Meng, he will definitely turn his attention to Wabi-I. Wabi-I lifted his eyelids nonchalantly. "Come on, let's see if that broken body of his is enough for me to eat." Qishuan's life is still in his hands. He has nothing to fear. Leah shook his head gently and denied Wabi-I's words. He just narrowed his long eyes and smiled coldly. "Since he wants a solution, let's give him one." Wabi-I nodded. "Let's give him one." Wabi-I sked. "You have so many wolf cubs. What's the big deal if one or two die? Just because of Qi Xian, how long are you going to be threatened by Cole?" Gu Meng Meng smacked Wabi-I's head. "Don't joke about such things. Fall out." Wabi-I flexed his neck, which had been misplaced by Gu Meng Meng's smack. "That's right. Look at the beast world. Which family can give birth to a litter of children and all of them live to adulthood? That snake beast can lay over 10 to 20 eggs in a litter, but only 3 to 5 of them will survive to adulthood. Moreover, Qi Xian is just a male cub, not a female. I don't know why you treasure him so much, TSK, you are the weird one. That is my flesh. His heart, liver, spleen, lungs and kidneys were all given by me. Why shouldn't I treasure him? I'm warning you, if you continue to say such things, we can't be friends anymore." Seeing that Gu Meng Meng was really about to get angry, Wabi-I sked and didn't continue speaking. Snakes were naturally cold-blooded and Wabi-I really couldn't understand familial love. He had lived for 800 years and the only two people he cared about were Elvis and Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng nudged Wabi-I. "When you find a female and give birth to a litter of snakes in the future, you will understand how I feel now." Wabi-I rolled his eyes. "If giving birth to a child will turn me into you, then I won't. When that time comes, I will be bullied by others. Just the thought of it pisses me off." Gu Meng Meng did not insist and just looked at Leah, asking, "What kind of solution do you intend to give Cole?" Leah chuckled. "Stray beasts are afraid of you, as long as you get rid of your stray beast status, isn't it?" Gu Meng Meng was confused. "What do you mean?" Leah glanced at Wabi-I. "As long as you say that you helped Wabi-I remove his stray beast status and allowed him to mate with a female again, won't the problem be solved?" "Will it work?" Wabi-I is so cunning, would he believe him? Gu Meng Meng was skeptical. Leah chuckled. With Peter's success story right there, he will believe it. Gu Meng Meng looked at Wabi. Then where are we going to find a female to act with us? Leah shook his head and said, as long as it's an act, there will definitely be flaws, so, are you serious? You want Wabi, this old bachelor of 800 years, to fall in love with a female, and then get rid of his stray beast status like Peter? Gu Mingming's eyes widened. She really felt that the probability of this happening was even lower than the probability of a comet hitting the Earth. Chapter 1305. Leo looked at Gu Mingming's confused expression and found it extremely adorable. Hence, he cupped her little face and kissed it over and over again before continuing. To be able to move the heart of an old bachelor like Wabi, it must be a unique female. Logically speaking, the best candidate should be you, because there is no one more beautiful than you in this world. It is natural for any male to fall in love with you. However, I don't want you to be the scapegoat, so I can only settle for the next best thing and choose a very special and unverifiable female. Who? Gu Meng Meng was confused. Leah chuckled. Wang Xiaoxin. What the heck? Gu Meng Meng almost burst out laughing. Do you mean I should let Wabi and Wang Xiaoxin have a ghost marriage? Leah shrugged his shoulders and chuckled. The messenger of the beast deity returned to the embrace of the beast deity after completing her mission, while you can travel between the beast world and the beast deity's world. So in theory, you and Wang Xiaoxin should be able to meet each other in the beast deity's world. You always mention Wabi in front of the beast deity, so it is reasonable for Wang Xiaoxin to be interested in him. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed. So I am a pimp, Leah chuckled. How can you say that you're pimping your friend out of kindness when you're trying to introduce him to a good man when he's all alone? Gu Meng Meng looked at Leah and gave him a thumbs up. I always thought I was good at bluffing, but you are even better than me. Leah kissed Gu Mingming's little face and said, that's why, if we're not a family, we won't enter the same house. Gu Meng Meng thought about it and shook her head. But Wang Xiaoxin is Snake's mother, isn't the seniority a little too messy? Leah smiled slyly and said softly, just because she is Snake's mother beast, this matter fits Cole's perverted logic. Gu Meng Meng tilted her head and looked at Leah, confused. Leah continued to explain, Snake had already disappeared from the beast world. Wabi had been suppressed by him for 800 years and had never won. After that, he no longer had the chance to turn the tables. But now, as long as he follows Wang Xiaoxin, he will be able to suppress Snake in terms of seniority. Cole will definitely like this feeling. Gu Meng Meng chuckled. She recalled what Bai Lan had said before. She had said that the husband she found in the future must be surnamed Wang and give birth to a son named Wang Yang. Her first love was called Wang Yang, but he cheated on her and broke up with her. She said that she didn't educate Wang Yang well when she was his girlfriend, so she would educate him again as his mother. Gu Meng Meng couldn't help but find it funny that the joke back then had now become Lee's plan. She asked, will Cole believe it? Leah did not answer but asked Wabi instead, if you were given a chance to be Snake's father, would you do it? F***CK. Wabi slammed the table and stood up without hesitation. Just the thought of Snake's angry face turning green in front of him made him feel inexplicably exhilarated. Leah gave Gu Meng Meng a seeth expression and she was speechless. She could only nod and say, then what? Leah chuckled and said, Cole has never loved anyone before. It is impossible for him to form a new contract like Peter did. Even if we take 10,000 steps back, if Cole really has some dirty tricks to rid himself of his stray beast status, do you think he can withstand the backlash of a second mating contract? Chapter 1306. After settling Cole's matter, their next target was the love of the sky on Moda Mountains. It was not wise to let Gregory go just like that, but Gu Mengmeng knew that the most unredeemable thing in this world was emotional debt, so she could not make use of other people's feelings for her. Back then, she was entangled with Leah because he was in her heart and she could not bear to let him go. But now that she did not have Gregory in her heart, she naturally could not let others mislead her. But if she let Gregory go, how were they going to ascend the mountains now? Let's go to Moda Mountains during the rainy season next year. Elvis hugged and kissed Gu Mengmeng. Because of Gregory's matter, we have already wasted a month's time. If we don't stock up on food, we will not have a good winter. Don't you still want to visit Qixien and Kanwu? Let's go to Zacharias this winter, alright. Gu Mengmeng thought about it, then shook her head and said, in the first year after you became the Wolf King, all the Wolf tribe members have been moving towards Sauder. You must stay here this winter to hold the fort, so that everyone in the Wolf tribe can rest assured. What has it got to do with me whether they are at ease or not? I only care if you are happy. Gu Mingming's eyes were full of smiles. She gently caressed Elvis's chest. Since you have become the king, you have to shoulder the responsibilities that you have to. They are people who will risk their lives to fight for your orders. You should at least give them some peace. Let's go to Moda Mountains after winter next year. We can also go to Zacharias to visit Qixien and Kanwu. I believe our sons will not blame us. Elvis did not insist. He just nodded. I will always listen to Xiao Meng. Ian had completed his mission and said that he wanted to return to St. Nazaire to accompany Mandy. Gu Mengmeng nodded in agreement. There was no reason for a newlywed couple to be separated just because she wanted a friend to accompany her. Ian took 2 steps forward before turning back. Gu Mengmeng. Can you make me one of the fans you gave Grace? Why? Are you using it to please Mandy? Ian nodded and said, I accidentally broke the cup you gave her earlier. I want to take that back to comfort her. Gu Mengmeng twitched her lips and said, the feathers Gregory gave me are only enough to make 2. I gave one to him and the other is with me. If you want it, catch me 12 melodies and I will give you the one in my hand. Then, when I am free during winter, I will slowly paste a new one on myself. Gu Mingming's lips twitched. Ian was a little troubled. Can I return you 20 melody during the dry season next year? That bird's habitat is very far away. With my speed, it would take at least 2 days to make a round trip. I'm afraid that I won't be able to catch all 12 of them before winter arrives. By then, the mountain would be sealed by the snow and I wouldn't be able to make it back to St. Nazaire in time. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. We have to fly so far to catch Melody. Ian nodded. Gu Mengmeng frowned, feeling a little uncomfortable. She had never paid much attention to why Gregory only appeared once a day to deliver the Melody and stay for a meal before immediately leaving again. At that time, she thought that he wanted to draw a clear line between them to prevent her from pestering him to bring her up Moda Mountains. So she did not ask much and did not want to cause any unnecessary misunderstandings. After knowing that Gregory liked her, Gu Mengmeng thought that he wanted to control his feelings for her and did not want to stay any longer. Now she knew that he had been traveling day and night to catch Melody. Chapter 1307. What's the matter? Ian waved his hand in front of Gu Mengmeng's eyes. Are you giving it to me or not? Gu Mengmeng looked up and stared at Ian for a while, before standing up and returning to the house to take out the other feather fan. She handed it to Ian. Here, use this to coax Mandy. I don't need you to catch Melody for me. This fan. I don't like it anymore. It was not that she didn't like it, but it was too burdensome. A man had helped her to catch a bird from afar, and he had never complained about the hardships along the way. It was fine if she didn't know about it, but now that she knew, she felt that she owed Gregory just by looking at this fan. It was a really bad feeling. Ian didn't know what Gu Meng Meng was thinking about. He didn't stand on ceremony and took the fan. I won't take advantage of you. I owe you a favor. Tell me if you want anything in the future. I will definitely return this favor. Gu Meng Meng waved her hands. Mandy is also my friend. It's nothing to give her something. Let's go. We've been out for so many days. I don't know how anxious Mandy is. Ian nodded and didn't say anything else. He flapped his wings and flew into the sky. He circled twice in the sky, leaving behind a bird's cry before flying off. In the next few days, Leah stayed at home to accompany Gu Meng Meng while Elvis led the wolf clan out to hunt. Because they could hunt with the Wolf King, the entire wolf clan was in high spirits. As a result, the wolf clan's prey was the most abundant in Sauder. This also made the wolf clan's reputation unparalleled. The Snow Fox clan came to look for Leah twice, hoping that the Ninth Highness could lead the Snow Fox clan to hunt together to compete with the wolf clan. However, Leah rejected them. The reason was simple. Elvis was stronger than him. If Elvis went out to hunt, there would be more prey. It was a good thing for the clan. He would never sacrifice Gu Meng Meng's winter meals for the Snow Fox clan's reputation. The Snow Fox clan was snubbed, but they couldn't do anything to Leah. Hence, the 16 tribes' reputation at the night campfire party gradually faded. The Wolf Clan became the new star of the show with their fighting abilities. When Elvis was not at home, Gu Meng Meng spent most of her time at Sandy's place, chatting with her and teasing her 2 daughters-in-law and Sandy's 3 leopard cubs. The children grew really fast. The little guys who didn't even have teeth at first were now almost as big as adult cheetahs in the zoo. It was just that it was already more than a year old, but it had no intention of evolving. Gu Meng Meng had asked once and Sandy said that Hedda and his brothers were special cases. Usually, beasts would only start evolving at around 3 years old, so Joseph and his brothers were still young and there was no rush. Gu Meng Meng hugged Dodgy in her arms and asked Sandy while stroking her fur, I sent Bode out of Zacharias and he has yet to return. I wonder if he can come back to spend the winter with you. Will you blame me for being nosy? Sandy shook his head and smiled. If Bode's strength doesn't increase, then he won't be able to keep his position in the family. I can't even thank you enough for pointing out a bright path for him. Why would I blame you? Gu Meng Meng heaved a sigh of relief and felt much more at ease. She then asked, Bode is not at home this year, you can have a nest of little bears with Colin this winter. Chapter 1308. Why? Did they request it? Gu Meng Meng frowned. Sandy smiled and replied, how would they dare to make any requests? They have been well behaved ever since you taught them a lesson the last time. But, isn't this the purpose of the marriage alliance? If we want the wolf tribe to truly help Hedda and Jialyu wholeheartedly, I, as the partner of the marriage alliance, must give birth to a litter of offspring for the wolf tribe. Only then can our relationship be truly confirmed. In the future, if you and Leah can give birth to a daughter, take my son from the wolf tribe as your partner. By then, Sauder will be truly united. Gu Meng Meng did not reply Sandy because she could not force her own views on marriage onto Sandy. But she knew that if her daughter were to get married one day, it would definitely be because she liked the other party and not because of any damned unity. But Gu Meng Meng could not say these words to Sandy. Sandy's character had gradually matured because she had shouldered the responsibilities that should have been shouldered by Gu Meng Meng. And the reason why she had to bear these responsibilities for Gu Meng Meng was because she had stopped Colin, who was the messenger's guard, and did not allow Colin and Elvis to face off against the powerful forces of Sauder at that time. That bit of guilt had taken root in her heart and she used all the resources she could to compensate for that guilt. No matter how many times Gu Meng Meng told her not to take that matter to heart, she had never blamed Sandy. But Sandy could not overcome the barrier in her heart. Whenever there was something that she could have done for Gu Meng Meng but did not, she would be tormented by that guilt until she could not eat or sleep well. At the end of the day, she cared too much about Gu Meng Meng. In the evening, the people who had gone out to hunt gradually returned. Elvis was anxious to see Gu Meng Meng and naturally took the lead. The wild wolves sent the prey back to the stone castle first while Elvis went straight to Sandy's house to fetch her. Sandy's 7 partners followed closely behind Elvis. The 8 wolves galloped over in a menacing and awe-inspiring manner. When he stood in front of Gu Meng Meng, Elvis had already transformed into human form. He scooped Gu Meng Meng up from the stool and hugged her in his arms. He kissed her little face and said, "I missed you so much." During the days that Elvis had been out hunting, this was the first sentence he would say every day when he saw her. At first, Gu Meng Meng felt that he was too mushy, but now she was used to it. Hence, Gu Meng Meng hugged Elvis back and said, "It's been hard on you. I missed you too." The 7 wolves of the Sandy family were panting heavily when they finally regained their footing. Even though they were trying their best to suppress it, it was already extremely difficult for a level 4 orc to keep up with a Beast King's speed, let alone a level 3 orc. But even so, their eyes were still shining with excitement. The more powerful the king, the more powerful the race. The desire of males for power was endless. Just as Elvis was about to carry Gu Meng Meng away, he saw a yellow figure speeding towards them. It came to a sudden stop in front of Sandy, kicking up a cloud of dust. Gu Meng Meng fixed her eyes on it and smiled knowingly. "Hubby, let's go home." Gu Meng Meng patted Elvis's shoulder, indicating for him to leave. Elvis said, "Aren't you going to greet Bode?" Gu Meng Meng smiled knowingly and said, "Absence makes the heart grow fonder, why should we stay and be the third wheel?" Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Elvis did not understand. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.